So, without further ado, I would like to introduce the President of Ireland, President Connolly.
Díomh a chuirde úsle, a Illy, agus scríbhnóirí, a chláán híní, a Vera, Lá Clia, a Ara, James Brown, agus Patrick O'Donovan, is cúis ástam a bheith I bhórgóliúdar inniu don ócáid speisialta seo. Ba watlam buíochas a gháil le, Ger a Hearn agus John O'Donnell, a sucht an chora agus tréslú libse fad ó antivas aireachta na hÉireann agus éigse éireann a bhí ranpáirteach sa tógra tábhachtach a chóirí seo agus le haigrú na hócáide inniu. Tá úmos do híal cultúra agus aireachta na tíre, star an cheantar áitiúil agus aitheantas don cháil damhanda atá bainte ma agus oiread sin dar gcuid scríbhnóirí filiíochta agus litríochta le mothú go láidir san achódú seo. We are here today, friends, to celebrate something very special, a permanent home for poetry and heritage in Ireland. And I believe that the decision to locate Poetry Ireland and the Irish Heritage Trust in this beautiful Georgian building, imbued with centuries of history and located in the centre of Dublin, is very significant, placing, as it does, poetry and heritage at the heart of our republic. The renovation and the repurposing of this space will give new life to a building that has accommodated and facilitated a diversity of tenants, having hosted the National Club, a debating and social club which counted Maud Gan and its members, among its members, to serving as headquarters, as I understand it, for Dublin County Council. These rooms have no doubt been witness to heated discussions and the sharing of ideas. And building on this history, the new iteration of number 11 will mark the first time that Ireland has a centre dedicated to poetry, and it's certainly a wonderful gift to all of us. At the core of this building, of course, will be the Seamus Heaney Poetry Library, encompassing the late laureate's private poetry library, and so generously bequeathed by his family to Poetry Ireland. Ba watlam buíochas ó chrí a go bháil le Marie Bantuch Seamus, agus Lena Chlan, Chris, Mick agus Catherine, as sa flathúlacht agus balúcán filiíochta Seamus á bhrunú acu éigse éireann. Bhí bua le ag Seamus agus I Mon Pin, agus ábalta mothúcán agus tuiscint níos deimhne our dear, our gultúr, our star agus our náireacht a bhuascailt onan. In preparing for today, I sort of reflected with my team on what poetry means to all of us, what it is about poetry that attracts us. And of course, poetry invites us into a world of imagination, a world where language is pared down to its very essence. It is, I think Mary O'Malley in Galway said, it has the power to refresh language and give us back our faith in it at a time where we need to reclaim our language. It is an art form, of course, that transcends time, boundaries, and generations. And indeed, it constantly negotiates as an art form the interaction between politics and poetry. This timelessness and the constant tension, I would say a required tension that we must always reflect on between poetry and politics, was brought home to me in a most personal way lately in relation to a funeral of a former English teacher, and his daughter related how all of his former pupils came up to him and thanked him for teaching poetry in a way that lived with them over nearly 100 years. And in particular, they quoted Oliver Goldsmith, The Deserted Village, 1770, ties in with the timeline outside. And sweet Auburn village of the loveliest village of the plain that some of us of a certain age know off by heart, where health and plenty cheered the labouring swain. And that brought into acute focus for me the commentary. This is a poem, social commentary on immigration way back in 1770, and the depopulation of our rural areas brought home in a most acute manner to us, and then poetry as a social commentary. And of course, we have the famous quote from Michael Hartnett: "Poets with progress make no peace or pact. The act of poetry is a rebel act." And indeed, Seamus Heaney, who I'm very reluctant to quote because he has been misquoted so often, to the pain of his family. But I think for me, he captured this that I was trying to deal with way back in 95. And he talked about the redress of poetry, making up in his Oxford lectures, making up for the lack of a voice, injustice, and so on. And then he pointed out, poetry cannot afford to lose its fundamentally self-delighting inventiveness, its joy in being a process of language as well as representation of things in the world. And then back to politics a little bit, which I probably misuse, but it has always stuck with me, his poem, which was commissioned by Amnesty, The Republic of Conscience. And it was the only time that I ever quoted Seamus Heaney. And that was when, in his poem, he pointed out, at their inauguration, public leaders must swear to uphold unwritten law and weep to atone for their presumption to hold office, and to affirm their faith that all life sprang from salt and tears, which the sky god wept after he dreamt his solitude was endless. I think that constant tension is very important, and I would hope, given the history to this building and the debates that were held there, that it will be a very core part of the debate and the dialogue and the discourse in relation to that tension between poetry and politics. And recently I read a book, and it has 50 poets in it, and it's really a wonderful book. The name escapes me, but it'll come back to me in a minute, the name. And there's an introduction by the writer to each poet. And a Jewish poet spanning the 20th century also caught me. And he said, Yehudi Amakai, the place where we are right. From the place where we are right, flowers will never grow in the spring. The place where we are right is hard and trampled like a yard. And I think it captures the importance of poetry for forcing us in to take in different perspectives, forcing us to go on a journey that the poet, whoever the poet is, has so kindly allowed us to do. And I think that's what you're celebrating here today in the heart of Dublin City. Is even lum go mai an spás fáilteach seo fáil, ní amháin mar rud achhuine, Edicus the phobal an ceantar ach mar spás cruchachach dómh siúd fad atá I mun alien na filiachta agus na litriachta. As a public accessible creative space, number 11 will have performance venues, and I'm really looking forward to seeing the building, as well as an education space open to all ages to encourage lifelong participation in poetry. The creation of a new cultural space is so welcome, particularly at a time when cultural spaces are under severe pressure or are looked on as a commodity. Moreover, the opening of this centre is particularly significant for Dublin and the North Inner City, and further establishes this part of town as Dublin's de facto literary quarter. But watlam achantis fuile a hort the Tristan Rosenstock, ball de word eikshe Erden, agus the achar Gabriel Rosenstock, a chalu le Janie. Bhí Gabriel mar chahirlach eikshe Erin Trá, agus in a walthord comórtas dús basco haiku, a chug jesh do galti manscola haiku a chuma I Nuelga no I Merla. Tá aireacht hever agus spragúil scríbhneoireachta fáca ag de ahar dúan fad Tristan. And I would like to conclude mar Ockelscar by congratulating just absolutely everyone involved with this important conservation project, all those in Poetry Ireland and Irish Heritage Trust, the building and the design team, including architect Valerie Mulvin of McCullough Mulvin Architects, as well as those in Fingal County Council and Dublin City Council who have helped to make this a reality. I wish everyone involved in Poetry Ireland and the Heritage Trust my best wishes for the future in your beautiful new home. Guiam gachra cuiligwina a vai I mon pin anseo. Gomara wur crochahocht, ag sevru ar spirit agus agriha. Míle buchas.